Vice President Dick Cheney not holding anything back. He's blasting President Obama in a new interview with Playboy magazine. Mr. Cheney says, quote, "I look at Barack Obama and I see the worst president in my lifetime without question." And that's saying something. I used to have significant criticism of Jimmy Carter, but compared to Barack Obama and the damage he is doing to the nation, it's a tragedy, a real tragedy, and we are going to pay a hell of a price just trying to dig out from under his presidency. Let's talk about it with Aaron Blake, political reporter at The Washington Post. Michael Warren is a staff writer for The Weekly Standard. Aaron, perhaps no surprise that this particular former vice president would have argument with the way Barack Obama is conducting his presidency, but these remarks were quite pointed.
Yeah, they are. And, you know, Dick Cheney has always occupied a somewhat unusual position as a vice president. He was never going to run for president in his own right. He was always going to be very involved in the administration. But he's also kind of a pit bull for the Bush administration in much the way that Bush hasn't been since he left office. George W. Bush has not really said anything about how the Obama administration has conducted itself. So, you know, I think Dick Cheney sees what's happening in the Middle East, in particular with ISIS. He's seeing the redeployment of troops to Iraq. And he's, you know, he's basically, you know, saying, you know, we may not have, you know, had the highest approval ratings when we were in office, but we tried, and this president is not doing a whole lot better.
During presidential campaigns, Michael, the vice president is often assigned to be the attack dog. Is that the same role that he's playing in this post-presidential era?
Yeah, I agree with Aaron. It's this kind of weird thing where he's had to sort of carry the mantle. And you got to give Dick Cheney a little credit here. He's been doing this, going after President Obama before it was cool, before really anybody else was doing it. All the way back in 2009, everybody is pretty high and excited about what Barack Obama is doing, bringing change to Washington and the government. And here's Dick Cheney criticizing mostly on national security and foreign policy issues, whether it was Guantanamo Bay or defending the Bush-era enhanced interrogation techniques. He's been doing this for a long time, so not really surprised to be hearing this from the vice president. And as Aaron said, a lot of the developments in the world since 2009 have sort of borne out Cheney's criticism, and it makes him look a little prescient.
Yeah, particularly on Iraq, Aaron. I mean, President Obama has said many times that he ended the war in Iraq responsibly. He brought the troops home. Now he's sending troops back over there because things are such a mess.
Right. You know, make no mistake, this was a big reason, maybe the reason that Barack Obama became the president. His 2008 primary campaign in particular was all about his opposition to the Iraq war. And so now that, you know, things are difficult in the Middle East and there's the, you know, the redeployment of troops to Iraq, you know, turnabout is fair play. And Dick Cheney is saying, you know, if you guys were going to spend all that time criticizing my administration, when things maybe aren't looking so great in the Middle East, we're going to give it right back to you.
Kind of interesting, too, Michael, that, you know, George W. Bush is rising in the public opinion polls these days.
Yeah, well, he had a long way to go up. I mean, he was pretty down at the end of his administration, so I think we'd expect that, and of course expect the passage of time to kind of soften people's views on what happened. But also, again, the news and the developments in the world have changed and certainly changed the way Republicans view a lot of these national security issues. There was this time when there was a belief that the party was moving in a more libertarian, a less interventionist mood, and now it seems to be moving back toward more a Bush view, a Bush-Cheney view of foreign policy, national security. And so I think what you're seeing really is sort of reality settling in, and Dick Cheney is sort of saying, look, I've been here all along saying this sort of thing, and it's really bad. I think he really probably feels vindicated, although he certainly wouldn't put it in those terms.
Michael Warren from The Weekly Standard, Aaron Blake from The Washington Post. Good to get your thoughts. Thank you.